Yeah, so that's
Okay. So So yesterday we started the spring and yesterday we completed basic examples. What are the basic examples? Like how to print the simple by using spring, how we can print the small text, okay, and how we can return any small string value, right? So here, first of all, we have taken one hello bean class. In the hello bean class, we have taken public string hello bean and we are taken hello user. After that, you are in the XML file, we have taken just hello com.suda hello bean, right? Apart from that, you are not changing anything. So once you can put this comment out, okay, now we can run this class. You are able to get the see null value, right? So here you can mention this one as empty. Now remove test.java. See, you will get hello.java. See, hello user. We have to add something for this user. If you append any value like a user, who is the user, right? So just assume. So we can I have taken one name attribute in this hello bean class. It has containing getters and setters. That name value I am adding into this corresponding string. Okay, and in the hello bean class, just in the configuration file, no, in the test class, just bean dot set name I mentioned Sudha. Okay, now when you run this example, the corresponding name attribute, it will assign it to the corresponding method. Here the name will be assigned to here, right? So this is not proper way. If you are using spring and XML file configuration in the test class, we cannot write here. Directly go to spring configuration file. In this configuration file, we have to write the how you can mention particular how you can inject the properties particular bean class. So in the spring, we have to use property tag. Okay, how to inject the properties in the spring bean in the XML file? We have to use spring, sorry, property tag. What is the attribute name here? Name, right? And what is the value you have to provide? Equal to, you can provide any name, like you can give John. Okay, now I have injected Control Shift F. See, I have inject instead of hard writing in the exam in the main class directly. I injected in this bean. Okay, when you run this example, the corresponding sim servlet dispatch servlet spring container will first of all it will read this XML file, and it is containing any bean, it will identify. It will read this bean and it will create the object for the bean class, and it will inject into the hello bean property. It will inject into the this variable. Finally you have a object creation, and the corresponding name attribute will automatically populated into the spring bean hello bean. Finally what you are doing, how it will bean, when you bean tag, it will read, right? It will directly go to, it will create the object for this class, and it will check any setter, any properties available or not in this class. If it is available under this name, it will identify the setter. Okay, and the corresponding value, it will by using setter method, it will populating the value into this property name in this class. Finally your data will be prepared. When you run this test.java, right, first of all, the first step, whatever I configuration file reading and everything done by line number 9. So in the 10th line, what we are doing, just context.getBean means hello, you are passing the ID, right? So in the line number 9th, already the corresponding this class object will be created. Context.getBean, and you can pass the ID, then you are able to get this object. Okay, and bean dot we can call your user defined method, and you are able to get the corresponding same output. See, same output you got. This is the way you have to represent your bean classes and your properties in the XML file. This is very basic example. Okay. Now, so any doubt, guys, up to here? Up to here, you have any doubts? Okay. So now we will go to some other example. So let's say I have to give some example. Okay. Let's say I will use now this time I will use simple user class. Okay. Let's say here in the two example I am taking. No, I will take another file spring app 3. Okay, in the app 3 I will take instead of see, you know, right, I don't want to create any dynamic web application or spring boot project, everything simply file new Java project, and you can give your application name next and finish. Once you can finish, you are able to get like this. Okay, you have to add your libraries, and you can continue your classes what you are writing. That's all. No need to here there is no any specific confusions to create the uh, project. So going forward, I will take the we will use Maven. Okay. Now, so now in this example, let's see how to print the some Pojo class values. Okay. Now let's say first of all I will take one user class. Okay, I have taken user class, and user class containing some properties: private, string, uname. Okay, private, string, u qualification. Okay, private, string, u age. Hibernate is started, guys. Jairam is taking the classes. Okay, private, string, u email. Now final, private, string, u mobile. Okay, these are all the my properties in this user class. Okay, so for this one I have to take getters and setters. So I already told you directly you cannot write the getters and setters. You have a shortcuts, right? What is the shortcut to get the getters and setters? Anyone? In the Eclipse or STS, both are same. How you can get the getters and setters in the Eclipse or STS? Please remember, I will repeat one more time. Alt Shift S. When you click on Alt Shift S, you will get all those things. You can select a getters and setters, select all the properties. Whatever you properties you taken, right? Those properties you need to select, right? So just generate. So how to format your code in the simple Java class? How to format your code? Control A, Control Shift F. So how to get the getters and setters? Alt Shift S. To format the code, Control Shift F. Okay. Now I have to write one method to display the content. Right. I need to display this content to the browser. I mean, when you run the application, right? I have to take one method, user defined method, public void display user details. Okay, this is my method and I have to display my data. Okay, here user details. Okay, now see, now I need to print all the values, right? Username, 1 second. Oh, sorry, uname. Okay, now next one is user qualification. Okay, now next user age. Next user address. Next, what is the next attribute? Email. Next user mobile. U mobile. Okay, this is my displayed method, display method. Okay, I will print all the variables once populate data will be populated. Now your pojo class is ready and your data will be, I mean, your pojo class is ready. Now what you have to do, you have to write the configuration file, right? So in the configuration file, I have my configuration file. In this file I have to mention the class name. What is the class name here? User. Okay, and the corresponding id should be user. So now I have to mention my all the properties names should be uname. Okay, the corresponding name should be, let's say, okay, Tilak. And I will copy this property tag. How many total? 6. So here, what is the next attribute? U qualification. It should be okay. Now U age. So next U address, Bangalore. And next U email. Next U mobile. Okay. Now, so your configuration file also complete. So okay, now we have to write your test class to display the content, right? First of all, this is common, this step is common. So here, how, what is the bean you are getting here? User, right? id should be user. You can remove this one and alt 1 enter. So here you will get user object user. Okay, this is not required, and we have to do the typecasting, and we can call user dot User, now this time no need to put on system.out.println. User dot display users. Okay. Now here rest just run this example. See here, user details you got, right? Why, how it should be. So going forward, we will talk about Spring life cycle, but I will give you some all flow of execution. So when you run this when you run this test class, right? First of all, what is the line number 9? So first of all, it will create the container object. Once a container object is created, the container, it will read this XML file. It will go to the corresponding XML file and it will read this bean class, sorry, bean tag. So finally, it will identify the corresponding user class and it will create the object. Why, after creation of the object, whatever values you populated, right? These values it will assign to this class object, okay, user object. So finally, your class object will be ready, right? So in the test class, again you need to get the object. How to get the object? Context dot get bean, you have to pass the id, then you are able to get the user class object. Then you can call user class dot user object dot your custom user defined method, then you are able to get the values. How to get the values and all, right? Automatically here whatever values and the names, it will match to the pojo class, right? Pojo class containing getters and setters. Okay, and when you call this test dot in the this method, it will go to the corresponding method and it will data will be populated automatically. You will get the data. This is the way we have to use the pojo classes in your application. And in the by using Spring, you have to retrieve the data from the Spring bean cycle. Okay, so this is the one of the simple example on the Spring. Okay, now we will next very important topic, IOC containers. Without IOC containers, there is no Spring, guys. You have to understand this concept. What is IOC containers? So in the Spring, right? In the when you compare to Spring, before we have worked with servlets. So what is the container in the servlet application? Can anyone tell? What is the container in the of servlet application? Tell me. What is the container in the servlet application? Hmm? Anyone don't know? So in servlet application, servlet is the container, right? In the same way, the corresponding Spring, you have the first front controller is the dispatcher servlet, but how you can create the container, right? So the main intention of containers, it is read to configuration. It will read the bean configuration from the configuration file and it will create the bean objects and it will provide the bean objects to Spring application. It means I will show you practically. See here in go to this example, what is the IOC container? First IOC container, it will read the configuration file. See, it is reading the configuration file and it will create the bean objects. See, here you are able to create the bean objects or not, right? Finally, your bean object, it will return to the corresponding application. Finally, here see, go to this bean, here your this bean object you are getting in the application or not, right? You are getting this application bean class, right? Finally your object will be given to the application. From this test application you are getting the data. This is the way you have to use the containers. That is the main concept of IOC containers. There are in this containers. Okay, so what is the purpose of containers? to read bean configurations from configuration file. Next one, create bean objects and provide bean objects to Spring application. These three steps to perform the IOC container. So next one, types of IOC containers. So what is the types? There are two types. One is bean factory. Second one is application context. Okay, these two are the IOC containers. Currently, you know how to use the IO application context. Okay, going forward, I will show you bean factory also. So here, what is the bean factory? So here, bean factory is it is a basic IOC container, base container, providing the Spring framework in order to manage bean objects. Okay, what is the purpose of bean factory? It will manage the bean objects by use in Spring application by using bean factory. That is one thing. So in the bean factory, IOC container will provide basic functionalities to the Spring framework by creating the creating or maintaining bean objects as per the configuration file details. Okay, which you provided in the XML file. Okay, both are same. Application context and bean factory is same, but so bean factory application context is the advanced of bean factory. Bean factory is now deprecated. Deprecated means they will soon remove in the Spring framework. Anyone you can, so who are all using the bean factory in their application must and should they will upgrade to application context. Why? Because bean factory already deprecated. Okay, so now what is the purpose of bean factory? Bean factory, it will provide basic functionality to work with Spring framework in order to bean objects creation. Okay, and moreover, bean factory, it will provide basic functionality to Spring framework creating and maintaining the bean objects as per the configuration file, which you can provide the bean configuration details in our XML file. Okay, to represent bean factory, if you want to use bean factory in IOC container, Spring framework has provided an interface and in an interface it called as Spring bean factory. Okay, what is the syntax for this? I mean, which class under which package it will available? Org dot Spring framework dot beans dot factory dot bean factory. This is the fully qualified name, which package under it is available. Bean factory is the fully qualified name. Okay, by using this is interface, guys, not class. By using this bean factory interface, Spring framework have providing implementation class in form of child class. This is interface. So what is the interface, guys? What is the interface? Can you speak? Anyone? What is the interface? Just a normal single line. What is the interface? So interface is nothing but interface containing only abstract methods. It won't, that corresponding methods won't have any implementation. It have only containing specification requirement, right? So interface contain bean factory is the interface how to without, so for this interface you cannot create the objects, right sir? With in this case, how you can use the bean factory interface, sir? For that one, Spring is providing implementation class for this bean factory. What is the implementation class? XML bean factory. When you work with the bean factory, we have to create object bean factory equal to new XML bean factory. Why? Because in the real time interface, how you can create the object? It is not possible, right? By using child class only, you have to create the object. Child class object, you have to assign the super class object, then you can access the methods, right? So what is the child class of implementation class for bean factory? XML bean factory is the implementation class. Okay, if you want to use the bean factory IOC container in the Spring application, you have to perform some steps. Okay, what are the steps you have to use? Up to now you are clear. Otherwise, if anyone confusion, I will explain one more time. Tell me, guys, is it clear? Aishwarya, Chekri, Sushmita, you people are following, or if you want, I will explain one more time. If you are feeling any difficulty in any point, I will repeat one more time, no problem. Yeah, so here, see, IOC container is nothing but if you want to read any configuration details from the configuration file, if you are mentioned in the XML file, that is the uh, it will do the IOC container. So if you want to create bean objects, you can go for IOC container. And one more thing, if you want to provide bean objects to Spring application, must and should you have to use IOC container. This is nothing but IOC container. Okay. So what is the types of IOC containers? There are two types. One is bean factory and another one is application context, right? So bean factory is, so by using the fundamental of base bean, the base bean, sorry, the fundamental or base IOC container is bean factory. So by using bean factory to provided by Spring framework in order to manage the bean objects. By using bean factory, you can manage the bean objects. Okay, bean factory IOC container will provide basic functionalities to the Spring framework by creating or managing the bean objects as per the bean configuration file which you provided in the XML configuration file. I will repeat it one more time this point. What is the what is the task of bean factory? First of all, bean factory is the IOC container. It will provide basic functionality to the Spring framework by creating or managing the bean objects, which is from, which it will get from the bean configuration file, bean configuration details, which you are mentioned in the XML bean configuration file. Okay, that is nothing but task of bean factory. Okay, to represent bean factory IOC container, you have to use following interface. Bean factory interface. Sir, bean factory is the interface. How you can create the object? It is not possible to create the interface objects, right? So then Spring will provide implementation class for this interface. What is the implementation class? XML bean factory. So if you want to work with bean factory, first of all you have to create the object for this XML bean factory by using, sorry, if you want to create the bean factory object by using XML bean factory implementation class. Okay, and moreover, if you want to use bean factory IOC container in the Spring applications, you have to follow some steps. Okay, what is the steps you have to perform? First of all, you have to create resource object. Okay, you have to you create resource object. What is the second step? create create bean factory object. Okay, third one, you have to get bean and access business methods. Okay, these three steps we have to perform. We have to perform to work with bean factory object, bean factory IOC container. What is the first step? You have to create resource object. You have to create bean factory object. Once you can create bean factory object, we have to get bean and access the business methods. So maybe you will get one question, sir, what is resource object, right? So what is the purpose of we have to use the resource object? Resource is, okay, we have to understand what is resource. Resource is an object in the Spring framework. Okay, it will able to represent all bean configuration details which we provided in the configuration details, right? Basically, in the bean factory object, we have to read the configuration file and it will, it will read the configuration file and it will get the configuration details, right? We have to use resource. Okay, by using resource object you can read the XML file. Okay, to represent resource object, spring in the Spring framework has providing predefined interface that is nothing but this is the fully qualified name. So if you want to use resource object, you have to create this for this class, sorry, for this interface. Okay, so sir, again you will get some question, sir, this is interface, sir, how you can create the object? Again, Spring is providing implementation class for this. What is the implementation class for this? The implementation class for this, what is the implementation class for this? The class is byte array resource. Okay, this is the class. Okay, one of the implementation class for this resource object, so resource interface. So in the resource interface, Spring framework is providing the following implementation classes. One is byte array resource and another one is, what is the purpose of byte array resource, right? So if you want to read this configuration file by using byte array resource, right, the corresponding all the bean configuration details which is available in the form of byte array. Okay, if you want to use this byte array resource, the corresponding configuration details from the XML file, it will available in the form of byte array. Okay, and the next one more implementation class is providing for the resource, that is nothing but um, file system file system resource. Okay, for example, if we want to use this type of a file system implementation class, the corresponding bean configuration details which are available in the form of file in our system. What is the, how it will provide? In the form of file. File is where it is available, nothing but hard disk, right? In local machine, file system is available in the hard disk, right? So these are all the this is one more implementation calls for this resource. This is very important, guys, we have to understand these things. Okay, and one more thing, and another implementation class is provided, that is nothing but the class name is same package, and you have to use class path resource. What is the class, what is the implementation class? Class path resource. This implementation class, it will providing, it will get the all the bean configuration details, it will get the from the class path environment variable. Class path env variable. Okay. Next one. And one more implementation class is available. This is nothing but input stream resource. What is the implementation class? One more, input stream resource. So this one is providing it will get the all the configuration details which is existed in the form of input stream. Okay, input stream. Next one, you are able to follow one more implementation class is available, URL resource. Okay, and the corresponding by using URL resource, you are able to get all the configuration details in the form of URL in the network. You can get the URL in the form of URL form. Okay. Now, next one is the corresponding servlet context resource. What is the next implementation class? Servlet context resource class. Okay. By using this, we have to get all the bean configuration details in the form of servlet context object. So, how many objects available in for each application servlet context object? Only one. Okay. So now next one is we will get portlet context resource. Here we cannot use this one. Okay, majorly they will use for the portlet applications. Portlet context they will get, right. This is we are not using in the Java application. Majorly this is applicable for only portlet applications. Okay, so here sir you can use these things, everything you can use in the form of spring development. No, we can use majorly this one, class path resource. Majorly you can use class path resource. Okay, so now how to create the resource object? Next you need to know how to create the resource object. Resource equal to, okay, new class path resource. We have to pass the XML file path. So this is the way you have to create. This is interface and this is implementation class. Implementation class, this class is expecting XML file. You have to provide the uh, like to create the resource object. What is the next step? Create bean factory object, right? How to create the bean factory object? To create bean factory object, we have to use constructor. So you have to use default parameter as a constructor. How you can create the bean factory object by using constructor? Let's see. This is the syntax. Bean factory equal to new XML bean factory can pass the resource object. That's all. Your second step is also done. You already created the container object. Okay. Now, what is the third step? Get the bean and access your methods. Simple. How to create the method? How to create the bean object and how to get the business methods. Right. So simple. Hello bean equal to, so we have to factory dot get bean, we can pass the id hello. So this is the syntax. We have to do the typecasting. Why? Because the corresponding get bean is returning the object, but it is expecting user defined class. So you have to do the typecasting. This is the steps you have to perform to work with IOC container, one of the type of bean factory. So I already mentioned. So I already told you one point. Already Bean Factory is deprecated. Up to which version is available? Only it is available up to Spring 3.6, sorry, 3.x version. After that, the Bean Factory is not available. Is deprecated. Okay, it's clear. Able to follow? Just say yes or no, guys. You are able to
Yes,
understand
yes,
or
sir.
not? Okay. So, guys, you taken a breakfast, right? Once completed and you are coming to the class, right? If anyone take, so I will give a 50 minutes break. You can come back 11 o'clock. Okay, we will continue the class. Anyone take not taking the breakfast, you can take and come back 11